Man insults Keanu Reeves on a first-class flight, instantly regrets it. It's written in a storytelling YouTube narration style, ideal for a voiceover or video content. It was supposed to be a normal first-class flight from Los Angeles to New York, the kind of flight where busy executives and celebrities quietly settle in with their champagne and noise-canceling headphones. But that morning, something unexpected happened. Something that would leave one arrogant man red-faced, and the entire cabin silently cheering. As passengers boarded the plane, quiet, bearded man in jeans and a worn-out backpack took his seat in first class. He greeted the flight attendants with a soft smile, tucked his bag under the seat, and began reading a paperback novel. Nothing about him screamed celebrity, and yet, that man was none other than Keanu Reeves. Enter the antagonist, a sharply dressed man in his mid-40s. Radiating entitlement. He glanced at Keanu, gave a loud scoff, and muttered just loud enough for everyone to hear, "They'll let just anyone in first class these days." Oh, Keanu, calm as ever, didn't even flinch. He simply looked up, smiled gently, and said, "Good morning." But the businessman wasn't done. "You must be in the wrong cabin, buddy. Coach is that way," he said, pointing to the back. Flight attendants approached, sensing tension. But before they could say a word, another passenger leaned over and whispered, "You know that's Keanu Reeves, right?" The color drained from the businessman's face. He froze, blinking in disbelief. "Wait, John Wick, the Matrix guy," he stammered. Keanu nodded politely and extended his hand. "Nice to meet you." The entire first-class cabin seemed to exhale in relief and amusement. The businessman mumbled an apology and sank into his seat, humiliated. The rest of the flight, Keanu spent it chatting kindly with flight attendants, giving up his dessert to a kid flying with his mom, and tipping the crew generously at the end. He was, as always, humble, grounded, and full of grace. In a world full of loud egos, sometimes the quietest man in the room turns out to be the most powerful. And for that arrogant businessman, well, let's just say he'll never judge a man by his backpack again. It started like any other routine. Flight out of Lex, the gate area for first class, was filled with the usual mix of executives, influencers, and tired frequent flyers sipping espresso and checking their phones. Among them was a man named Richard, a sharply dressed tech entrepreneur in his 40s, who clearly believed money equaled status. He was loud, demanding, and more than a little obnoxious. From the moment he stepped into the lounge, Richard made sure everyone around him knew who he was, what company he ran, and how important he thought he was. When boarding was called, Richard strutted onto the plane as if he owned it, dropping his designer duffel into the overhead compartment with a flourish and settling into his seat with the air of someone expecting deference. And then, Keanu Reeves boarded, wearing jeans, a plain black t-shirt, and carrying a slightly worn canvas backpack. Keanu looked more like a student than a multimillionaire actor. His hair was slightly tousled, and his expression calm and distant, clearly trying to keep a low profile. But Richard noticed him immediately. "Whoa," he said loudly, elbowing his seatmate. "Look who's slumming it in first class." The seatmate didn't laugh. In fact, they looked uncomfortable. But Richard wasn't finished. "Keanu Reeves, right? The Matrix guy. Man, you look like you just rolled out of bed. Where's your entourage? You're stylish. You're a movie star. Act like it." A few passengers turned their heads, hoping the scene wouldn't escalate. Keanu gave a quiet, polite smile and took his seat right across the aisle from Richard. And phased, Richard kept talking. "I mean, no offense, but come on. You're worth millions. At least put on a jacket. Don't you have a brand to protect?" Keanu glanced up, his eyes calm. "I like to be comfortable when I fly," he said softly. "That's all." Richard laughed, clearly interpreting Keanu's calm demeanor as weakness. "Comfortable? Man, you Hollywood types are weird. If I had your money, I wouldn't be caught dead looking like a broke college kid." Keanu didn't respond. He simply pulled out a well-worn paperback book from his backpack and started reading. The conversation, at least from his side, was over. But the flight had barely taken off when Richard decided to double down. He asked the flight attendant for an upgrade to a better seat, insisting that having to sit near some guy with a backpack was beneath him. The flight attendant blinked. "Sir," she said gently, "you're in first class. There are no better seats. And just so you know that, Guy with a backpack donated over $100,000 last year to our airline's children's charity. Richard's face froze. Oh, and she continued with a smile. He flew coach last month just to give up his seat for a soldier on leave. Didn't want any attention for it. Just thought you should know. That shut Richard up temporarily. But what came next sealed the moment into legend.